This is OpenRouter Fusion. Instead of sending your question to one AI model, it sends it to a panel of them, and then has a separate model act as a judge and fuse together the best answer out of all of them. On a hard research benchmark, a panel of 3 budget models matched Claude Fable-5, which is the model everyone on the internet has been talking about, and the US government just restricted because they said it was too powerful. And it matched it at about half the price. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how Fusion works and then how to set it up step by step, and breaking it down into 2 methods. There's a beginner method where you can use it on their website. It's a little bit easier to set up. And then a more advanced method if you want to use it while you're coding, say in terminal, in an IDE, or in something like Claude Code or Codex. And to be clear, I have no affiliation with OpenRouter. They didn't sponsor this video or anything like that. If they did, I would obviously tell you guys. So here's the whole idea. You send your prompt and then it gets fanned out to a panel of models. This shows 3, but realistically you could have more than that. Then you have a judge that reads every answer, and then it maps the agreements, contradictions, gaps, unique insights, things like that. It finds the best of what all 3 of these models surfaced, and then it synthesizes it. It combines them all to give you the final answer, which is the best of them. It's like if you have a smart friend, you can ask them for answers, but they might not know everything. So in some cases, it makes sense to ask 5 of your friends, see what they all say, and then you take the best of what they all recommend. And there's at least 2 reasons that this matters a lot. The first is that this is probably where AI prompting is heading. Now, that's not guaranteed, and people make a lot of bold claims all the time, but because it gets better performance, it's likely that we're going to see more of this in the future. Even if you're still using the Claude or ChatGPT interface, they might be running this sort of fusion behind the scenes. So it makes sense to know about it. And 2, I mentioned it before, you do get better performance with this. So if you are trying to grow as fast as possible, learn as fast as possible, get the best answers, the best results, this is a way to do it. But here we are always about honesty, and there are some drawbacks. First of all, this is slower. Because you have to query a few different models, it takes longer, usually about 2 to 3 times longer than a solo model, like just using one. And it also costs more because, again, you are using multiple models, so you have to pay the token cost of all of those individual models. But what I talked about before and where it gets interesting is that you can still get really, really good performance using budget models. So if you use DeepSeek or Kimi or Qwen, your overall cost would be lower than, say, running Fable-5 or a more expensive model because those just cost cheaper. It's just going to be more expensive than if you just ran DeepSeek. You know what I mean? So because of that, this is for things where you really need to be right. Accuracy matters and performance matters. It's not for asking what the capital of France is. Now let's talk about how to use Fusion and how to get the best performance out of it. So to start, we're going to head to OpenRouter.ai. They are the one that has created this Fusion system, this Fusion model. Now, if you've never used OpenRouter, it is simply an interface that lets you connect to tons of different AI models, all in the same place. So you don't have to go sign up with each unique account. You just sign up here. They pay those providers for you, and you just get to use all of the LLMs in one place. So it's really nice. And to be clear, it does stuff besides just Fusion. Like that's mainly why people use it, but the Fusion is a new thing. If you've never been here before, you'll have to sign up. It's really easy though. It's free. You can use Google, you can use GitHub, all the usual stuff. Then we're going to click get an API key because we will need to do that. We'll go over here, hit new key, name it something like Fusion test. I'm going to give it a credit limit of $10 and no expiration, hit create. Now here's my secret key that I'm going to blur out. Copy this down, you won't be able to see it again. Now, additionally, if you are new to OpenRouter, you will have to buy credits. So go down here in your account settings to credits, and then just hit add credits here. You'll have to fill out your billing info address, but then you can just purchase credits. You can buy $5 will be plenty for this. Then to actually use Fusion, we're going to start with the easier method, which is you go up here and you click Fusion. This is an interface that they have built on their site. So a few things to call out here. You can choose the parameters for your Fusion model. So here it is on quality, which means it'll cost more, but you'll get the best quality. So it is using Claude Opus, OpenAI, and Google Gemini Pro. If I switch to budget, then it's going to use Google Gemini Flash, DeepSeek, Moonshots, Kimi. You can also build a custom model with your own models, where here you can select from all of the different models that OpenRouter has, which is just about everything out there. But to start, I'm going to run with quality. Then you'll see here, you can choose what to fuse with. This is essentially the judge. So which one is going to look at all of them and select the best. Keeping it on auto is usually a good idea. The main thing here is you want your judge to be the most powerful model of the ones that you use. Like combining cheaper models with a powerful judge is much better than combining powerful models with a cheap judge. The judge is what does a lot of the heavy lifting here. Now, I want to give you a comparison. So I'm going to paste in this made up prompt. I'm a US-based freelancer expecting about $120,000 in net self-employment income in 2026, deciding between a SEP IRA and a solo 401k purely to maximize my tax advantage retirement contributions. So what we want is give the actual 2026 contribution limits for each option at my income level, show me the math, tell me which one lets me contribute more and by how much, cover the real trade-offs, set up complexity, deadlines, admin burden, etc. Cite primary IRS sources for every number. So we're going to paste that here with the quality fusion model. Now, at the same time, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and give it the exact same prompt so that we can compare if there's a difference. And you can see now here it fans out to all of these models and you can see them generating, thinking, generating, etc. And then it'll summarize it all. Now, if you want to use this while you are coding, say you are in an IDE, like I have Cursor pulled up here, or if you're using Claude Code, Codex, you can do that just the same. And if you want to run this yourself as you're coding, you call it the same way you would a normal model. It's OpenRouter/Fusion. You can see what a full code example looks like here. So we've got that. You define the role and the content, etc. And that runs with the defaults. But to custom build your own panel, like we talked about, the code would look like this. So you still got OpenRouter/Fusion, but then we're adding in the different models. So this model here is the judge. And so then the three analysis models are these ones here. So Gemini 3 Flash, Kimi K2.6, and then DeepSeek V4 Pro. One important thing to note, though, is that Fusion is still in beta, so it's very likely that documentation will change in coming days and coming weeks. It might be outdated by the time you watch this video even. So do check the developer docs for that to make sure everything is correct. This is just what's correct right now. But if you're like me and looking at all this code is kind of scary and you want to just use it in Claude Code, we can do that really easily as well. So we'll go over to Claude Code, we'll start something new, and we'll say, I want you to use OpenRouter Fusion, and I want you to build a custom model with the latest models from Anthropic, from OpenAI, and from Google. So find those, and I want the judge to be ChatGPT's 5.5. I have OpenRouter set up. Just ask me to paste in my key or what you need, and we'll be able to get it done. And then I want you to answer this question using that OpenRouter Fusion. We'll paste in our question here. This is the same one as before, and then hit enter. And this is doing the exact same thing. You're just prompting it with natural language. You can see even from my prompt, I was kind of rambling a little bit, didn't know exactly what I wanted to say. It'll still do just fine. So this was sped up, but the Fusion prompt is done. So you can see here, we had our models. We had step 2 of 3 is analysis. We can see where they agree, differences, partial coverage, unique insights, blind spots. You can click through each of these to evaluate it more cleanly. So this is pretty cool. And then step 3 is the result. To check a few things, the math of my net earnings, Fusion says 111,000 and some change. ChatGPT says 111,000 and some change. Same there. The caps are 22 and 46. Yep, same there. Now let's look at their trade-offs. So setup complexity, they're saying the SEP IRA, super simple. Solo 401k is a bit harder. It requires adopting a written plan document and trust. Yep, ChatGPT saying similar-ish stuff. I don't like its answer here quite as much. So let's look at bottom line. Fusion is saying that for me, Solo 401k is the clear winner. It's interesting here. You can see its formatting got a little bit messed up. I wonder if it's the special characters doing that. But then it calls out a mega backdoor Roth, which is like a unique workaround you can use. And then the defined benefit / cash balance plan. So ChatGPT is saying Solo 401k allows more savings, and it's probably the stronger choice. It does call out the backdoor Roth here, or it talks about it a little bit, but I will say there was no mention of the defined benefit or cash balance plan. So that's a good add-in by Fusion. And now that you have an understanding of how to use this, there's a few key things that you should know. So online, you might see people say that you get Fable-Level performance at half the price, but that is incorrect. If we pull up the benchmark table, you'll see that OpenRouter was able to beat Fable-Level performance actually, but it was a lot more expensive. However, they were able to almost match Fable-Level performance with the budget models. So it was about 1 percentage point different. If you're like me, that's cool. That's great. 1 percentage point is not a big deal. But just know that if you want to beat Fable 5, it is more expensive. If you want to match it, it's actually cheaper, half the price. And then we have two different parts here. We have the variety of models and then the synthesis or the judge. And the judge is actually what's driving most of the results here. The variety isn't really that big of a deal. In fact, they did this with 2 of the exact same models. So if you put Opus 4.8 and Opus 4.8 in your Fusion model, you still get improved performance. It's the fact that they're synthesizing and evaluating across the models. If you want speed or have a quick question, don't use Fusion. It's not really meant for that. But if you have a long question, something where accuracy really matters, that is the time to use it. So that's how it works. I'll see you next time.